In the cavernous expanse of the Senate Armed Services Committee chamber, where the polished oak paneling gleamed under the stark fluorescent lights on that crisp Monday afternoon, the air was thick with the scent of aged wood and the unspoken tension of a political showdown as Senator Tommy Tuberville, a 70-year-old Alabama Republican with the burly frame of a retired linebacker and the brash swagger of a football coach who once led Auburn University to a national championship in 2004, reclined. In his leather chair with a grin that sliced through the room like a referee's whistle at the start of a tense fourth quarter, his graying hair and ruddy complexion a map of decades spent under Southern suns, first on the gridiron, where he honed a reputation for tough love and strategic grit, and now in the political arena, where he'd become a lightning rod, infamous for his year-long blockade of over 300 military promotions in a contentious stand against Pentagon abortion policies, a move that cemented his status as a hero to his conservative base while drawing the wrath of veterans groups who decried it as a reckless gambit that jeopardized national security for ideological points. Across the witness table sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, a 43-year-old Texas Democrat whose navy blazer hugged her frame with the precision of a prosecutor's gavel, her dark curls framing a face forged in the fires of courtroom battles as a civil rights attorney before her landslide 2022 election to represent Dallas's diverse 30th District, a rising star whose viral takedowns of GOP hypocrisy had turned her into a social media sensation and a late-night monologue darling, her presence a tempest of intellect and passion that had already shifted the political landscape in just 3 years, her reputation built on a foundation of defending the underserved, tenants facing eviction, workers battling wage theft, and communities drowning in systemic neglect. The hearing, scheduled as a routine discussion on expanding child care subsidies and housing support for military families of deployed troops, was intended as a bipartisan gesture toward the sacrifices of service members, a chance to bridge divides in a Congress fractured by the 2024 midterm fallout. But Tuberville, ever the provocateur with a knack for turning policy into a personal play, couldn't resist throwing a verbal block, his drawling chuckle reverberating off the marble walls as Crockett began her testimony, her voice steady and resonant with data culled from frontline reports, painting a vivid picture of single parents in uniform juggling deployments and daycare costs, their stories of resilience backed by statistics showing a 30% increase in financial strain since the last budget cycle. "Come on, Congresswoman," Tuberville interrupted, his southern twang dripping with condescension as he leaned forward, elbows on the table. "You talk a big game about family values, but what do you really know about the grit of military life? I've coached men through hell on the field, real sacrifice, not just policy papers you pull from some DC desk while sipping lattes in your ivory tower." The room froze, aides exchanging wide-eyed glances, cameras zooming in to capture the flicker of amusement on Tuberville's ruddy face, his allies stifling laughs while opponents bristled, the gallery murmuring a mix of gasps and hushed outrage as the insult hung in the air like a poorly thrown pass. Crockett's eyes narrowed, not in rage, but in that calculated calm she'd perfected in Texas courtrooms, where she dismantled corrupt cops and corporate giants, her fingers tightening briefly on her notes before she adjusted her microphone with the deliberate grace of a quarterback reading a defense, her posture shifting from witness to warrior as she prepared to counter. "Senator, with all due respect, and I mean that, because respect is what our troops deserve, your coaching days might have taught you about plays and timeouts, but mine taught me about pain," she began, her voice rising with a quiet power that silenced the room. "My father, Sergeant Elias Crockett, didn't dodge drafts or defer service with excuses like flat feet. He stormed the jungles of Vietnam in '68, a black soldier in a segregated army, Purple Heart pinned to his chest after shrapnel ripped through his leg defending Hill 875, a muddy hellhole that meant freedom for strangers he'd never meet, a man who came home with nightmares but never a complaint, raising me on stories of brotherhood under fire while battling Agent Orange's silent poison that took his breath years later." The chamber hushed, the weight of her words sinking into the woodwork as she reached into her portfolio and pulled out a faded envelope, its edges worn like the scars of war, holding it up like a sacred relic before unfolding the brittle paper inside, her voice cracking just once, a raw edge betraying the steel, as she read, Jasmine's mama, tell our girl the Constitution ain't just words on paper. It's the blood we spill to keep it breathing. Fight for the forgotten, baby girl. 'Cause that's what America's soul demands. The letter a vivid testament to horrors. Ambushes at dawn. Brothers lost to the jungle shadows. The quiet heroism of a man who returned to a nation that barely acknowledged his sacrifice. Its ink a bridge between past and present. Tuberville shifted uncomfortably, his smirk fading, fingers drumming the table as if seeking a timeout, his eyes darting to his notes, the confidence draining from his posture as Crockett pressed on. This isn't about games, Senator. My daddy didn't block promotions for ideology. He fought for unity, for families like ours who pay the price every day. While you've held up generals over a policy that affects less than 1% of service members, a move even your own party's war hawks call. Short-sighted. Her gaze locked onto his like a laser-guided missile, the letter's words echoing as she concluded. So if you're done chuckling, let's talk real support, not political footballs that leave our troops' kids without care. The room erupted in subdued applause from Democrats, stunned silence from Republicans. Tuberville mumbling a pivot to procedure, his face flushed as he avoided her eyes, the gavel falling to restore order as the hearing lurched forward. But the moment had already escaped the chamber's confines, exploding online within minutes. Millions of views on X, hashtags like hashtag Crockett claps back and hashtag Tuberville takedown trending as pundits dissected the mic drop moment that humanized policy amid the 2025 election fever, with clips replayed on CNN and Fox, sparking debates from bar stools to think tanks, the narrative shifting from policy to persona. For Crockett, it was personal vindication, a daughter's tribute woven into legislative armor, her father's legacy a shield against Tuberville's barbs, a story that resonated with military families who flooded her office with letters of gratitude, while for Tuberville, it was a fumble exposed on a national stage, his bravado deflated by a truth he couldn't counter, his silence on the matter a tacit admission of the hit as he faced pressure for within his party to relent on his promotion holds. With whispers of a compromise bill gaining traction by late October, the moment's ripple effect stretched beyond policy. Veterans organizations praised Crockett's authenticity. Young activists hailed her as a new voice for justice, and even some conservative commentators, like Sean Hannity, grudgingly admitted her heart was in the right place, though they criticized her grandstanding. Social media memes juxtaposed Tuberville's grin with Crockett's letter, turning the clash into cultural currency, while law schools began analyzing the hearing as a case study. In emotional advocacy, its viral reach amplifying calls for transparency in congressional debates, with op-eds in The Hill and Politico framing it as a turning point in 2025's polarized Congress. As winter approached, with Congress reconvening in January 2026, the Tuberville-Crockett Showdown remained a benchmark, a reminder that in a capital fractured by partisan gridlock, a single, heartfelt truth could silence a stadium of skeptics, its legacy etched not in votes, but in the changed tenor of discourse, where Crockett's quiet smile after the gavel fell, victory not in defeat, but in the truth finally heard, promised a shift toward accountability, unity, and the soul of a nation still learning to listen, her father's letter becoming a rallying cry for the Military Family Support Act, a bill she co-sponsored that gained bipartisan murmurs, its provisions for child care and housing subsidies sparking hope among advocates who saw it as a step toward honoring the forgotten, while Tuberville's once unshakable stance began to waver under the weight of public scrutiny, his allies urging a strategic retreat to salvage his 2026 re-election prospects. The hearing's aftermath saw a surge in grassroots campaigns, with military spouses organizing rallies in Montgomery and Dallas, their signs reading, Elias's Legacy Lives, a tribute to Crockett's father that transcended politics, while Tuberville's office released a tepid statement praising all who serve, a far cry from his earlier bravado, signaling a shift in his approach as he navigated the fallout. By spring 2026, the act passed the House with a narrow margin, Crockett's impassioned floor speech replaying her father's words to a standing ovation, while Tuberville abstained, his absence from the vote a silent acknowledgement of the narrative's power. And as the Senate debated its version, the clash's echo lingered, shaping policy and perception alike, with polls showing a 15% uptick in public support for military family programs, a testament to the movement's enduring impact. Crockett, now a national figure, balanced her legislative duties with a memoir deal, Letters from the Foxhole, set for release in 2027, while Tuberville retreated to Alabama, his campaign ads dodging the hearing, focusing instead on tax cuts, a strategic pivot to reclaim his base. But the internet never forgot, with TikTok remixes of Crockett's testimony racking up millions of views, blending her voice with beats that turned a policy fight into a cultural anthem. The Tuberville-Crockett saga, born in a single heated exchange, grew into a movement, its roots in a soldier's letter and a senator's misstep, its branches reaching into classrooms where students debated its ethics, newsrooms where editors chased its angles, and homes where families saw their struggles reflected, proving that in a democracy's noisy arena, the quietest truths could roar the loudest, reshaping the soul of a nation one word, one wound, one victory at a time.